Purport by Srila Prabhupada. It is stated in the Bhagavad Gita that the spell of Maya, which covers the knowledge of the living entity, is insurmountable. However, one who surrenders unto Krishna, the Supreme Personality of Godhead, can conquer this seemingly insurmountable spell of Maya. Here also it is stated that the Daivi Prakriti, or the external energy of the Supreme Lord, is Durvibhavya, very difficult to understand and very difficult to conquer. One must, however, conquer this insurmountable spell of Maya. And this is possible by the grace of the Lord, when God reveals Himself to the surrendered soul. It is also stated here, Swarupena Vatishthathe. Swarupa means that one has to know that he is not the Supreme Soul, but rather part and parcel of the Supreme Soul. That is self-realization. To think falsely that one is the Supreme Soul and that one is all-pervading is not Swarupa. This is not realization of his actual position. The real position is that one is part and parcel. It is recommended here that one remain in that position of actual self-realization. In Bhagavad Gita, this understanding is defined as Brahman realization. After Brahman realization, one can engage in the activities of Brahman. As long as one is not self-realized, he engages in activities based on false identification with the body. When one is situated in his real self, then the activities of Brahman realization begin. The Mayavadi philosophers say that after Brahman realization, all activities stop. But that is not actually so. If the soul is so active in its abnormal condition, existing under the covering of matter, how can one deny its activity when free? An example may be cited here. If a man is in a diseased condition, is very active, how can one imagine that when he is free from the disease, he will be inactive? Naturally, the conclusion is that when one is free from all disease, his activities are pure. It may be said that the activities of Brahman realization are different from those of conditional life, but that does not stop activity. This is indicated in Bhagavad Gita 18.54. After one realizes oneself to be Brahman, devotional service begins. Mad bhaktim labhate param. After Brahman realization, one can engage in the devotional service of the Lord. Therefore, devotional service of the Lord is actually in Brahman realization. For those who engage in devotional service, there is no spell of Maya, and their situation is all perfect. The duty of the living entity as a part and parcel of the whole is to render devotional service to the whole. That is the ultimate perfection of life. Thus ends the Bhaktivedanta purports of the 3rd canto, 28th chapter of the Srimad Bhagavatam, entitled Lord Kapila's Instructions in the Execution of Devotional Service. So this is the last and concluding verse of this chapter, spoken by Kapila to his mother. And in conclusion, he is saying, Tasmat, therefore, thus. Tasmad imam swam prakritim dhaivim sadasadatmikam durvibhavyam parabhavya swarupena vatishthathe. So imam prakritim, this material nature, which is swam, which is self-supporting, is on its own, swam prakritim, daivim, although it is daivim, divine, sasadatmikam, it consists of cause and effect aspects within itself. Sadasadatmikam, consisting of sadasad, causes and effects. Durvibhavyam is very difficult to understand. Parabhavya, but one must conquer, one must understand, one must conquer, and in that way Swarupena avatishthate, and in this way be situated in Swarupa, in one's constitutional position, one's own self-realized position. Thus the yogi can be in the self-realized position, Swarupena avatishthate. After conquering Parabhavya, the insurmountable spell of Maya, Durvibhavyam, who presents herself as both the cause and the effect of this material manifestation, Sadasadatmikam, and is therefore very difficult to understand, Durvibhavyam. So, it's very interesting how Srila Prabhupada has translated these words, Sadasadatmikam, which makes this material energy insurmountable and difficult to understand. Thus the yogi can be in the self-realized position after conquering the insurmountable spell of Maya, who presents herself as both the cause and effect of this material manifestation. Sadasadatmikam. Prabhupada is explaining that Sadasadatmikam, Prakritim Sadasadatmikam, this material nature presents herself as both the cause and effect of this material manifestation. So in the material manifestation, when you observe, when you study, you will find its effects. You will see that as effects, and you can find its cause. And so you can find effects and its causes, and so it looks like it is self-supporting and doesn't require any other support, Swam Prakrutim, and hence those who are studying this, it will be very difficult for them to understand what is beyond this, Durvibhavyam. I'll give an example. Just like in this particularly, this Sadasadatmikam particularly makes the whole understanding of this material world through science very, very puzzling and very mysterious, very puzzling, very confusing, and hence it becomes Durvibhavyam, very difficult to understand. I'll give an example. Just like when as devotees, when we hear, actually in this universe, there are very powerful nuclear reactions going on. It is like the sun. The sun has so much energy coming out, and that's because of nuclear reactions that are going on. And sun is just one of the sun. There are many, many, many stars in the universe, bigger stars, science tells us. And there is so much of nuclear activity going on. And when there is nuclear radiation, nuclear activity, there is radiation, and that radiation can be very harmful to us, to our life. So, we learn from science that there is a magnetic field around the earth which actually deflects the radiation and protects the earth, and that's how life has become possible. When we hear about that as devotees, we feel, oh, what a wonderful arrangement the Lord has made. Created a huge magnetic field around the earth, can we imagine? And it is that which keeps away all of these dangerous radiation that can come from the sun or from any other part of the universe. So when a scientist tries to understand that, and he says, oh, there is a magnetic field around the earth. Now, what is the cause of that magnetic field? And then, of course, there are a few theories, but at least the more popular theory is that the earth, in its core, has liquid iron and nickel. So it's in the core of the earth is actually, it's in a state of plasma, it is liquid. And it is liquid and it is ionized. And another aspect of this earth is the earth is spinning. So the spinning earth with a molten core of iron and nickel creates a certain kind of a churning in the core of the earth. And that sets up electric currents. Just like if I take a glass of water, a small glass, and it has got ionized solution, electrons, and then I stir it up, then it sets up a magnetic field around it. When electrons are moving, it sets a magnetic field around that. That's electromagnetic theory. So scientists know about that. So because of that swirling of the core, molten liquids, molten metals in the core of the earth, that creates a magnetic field. And because of the magnetic field, the solar radiations don't come and strike us, and that's how we are protected. So when scientists study these things, they will see an effect and they will see its cause. Because that is the way the universe is constituted. Sada sadatmikam. It is composed of causes and effects built into it. And so when you try to study that, it becomes, you cannot understand, you cannot go beyond that, and it becomes durvibhavyam. In fact, when Charles Darwin propounded the theory of evolution, one of the important comments was that Darwin has now provided an explanation of design without a designer. Because you cannot deny there is design in this world. When you study the stars, when you study nature, it's very obvious for scientists there is design. But then scientists, when they try to study these things, they find a cause and they become very convinced about the cause, and so they go on finding. And because of that, they see that now we have explained. In fact, Stephen Hawking made another statement like this. Actually, science cannot disprove God. But science has proved that there is no need of God to explain the universe. You see? So because they are able to find the cause and the effects. So where is the need for God? Maybe we don't know something, and so pious people will say God created that. But when we progress in our science, we'll find out its cause, then we don't need God. So the entire enterprise of science is an attempt to purge God out of the universe. And that happens because sada sadatmikam. This material universe is composed, it is nothing but an aggregation of cause and effect phenomena. And so scientists are simply studying that and they cannot make out what it is. It's just like the example, a very popular simple example that we all discuss. A scientist set up an experimental cage and he put a few rats in it, and he made them starve, and the rats were all very hungry. They were running around, they were very hungry. And then he had created a small metallic lever, and the rats stumbled on the lever and pressed it. And the moment the rats pressed the lever, he had arranged a small quantum of food fell into the cage. And the rats all rushed at that and nibbled and they ate. And then again after some time they became hungry and they were running around. And in a few attempts they figured out that you press the lever, you get the food. And now the rats became very happy. Whenever we are hungry, go press the lever, you get food. Now they figured out that for us to have food, you have to press this lever. So they see this, they figured out the cause-effect relationship, and now they thought that now we have figured out everything. That's exactly what is happening with the scientists. So it's a Sada-Sada-Atmikam. And because it is Sada-Sada-Atmikam, it is Swam Prakritim. It appears like the Prakriti is self-supporting. And hence, if you try to study that, you will never figure out it is Durvibhavyam. It becomes very difficult to properly understand. So, that is the nature of this universe. But it is Daivim. It is actually connected, it is divine, it is connected to the Lord. That is why Krishna also says in the Bhagavad Gita, Bhinna Prakriti Rashtadha. Actually, Krishna is saying, Bhumi Rapo Nalo Vayuhu Kham Mano Buddhirevacha Ahankara Mitiyam Me Bhinna Prakriti Rashtadha. This Prakriti is Me Prakriti. It is my nature, my material nature, but it is Bhinna Prakriti. It is separated from me. Separated from me means what? A very nice explanation Srila Prabhupada gave. Just like you have a tape recorder and I speak into the tape recorder or a recording device nowadays, and then the recording device will record my voice. After that, you can play my voice, you can hear my voice. It is my voice, but I am not in that voice because it is separated from me. It's my voice, Me Prakriti, but it is Bhinna, but it is separated from me. It is separated and it exists as if it is on its own, Swam Prakritim. And that is the way. Although it is my energy, it is separated from me. So it looks like it is on its own. And that's what scientists are trying to figure out. And by studying through scientific methods, you can never figure out what is the... Actually, if you ask the ultimate questions in science, scientists think that we'll find another answer, and so on. You can keep asking the same question, the cause and its cause kind of a question. So scientists may say that that is the nature of the electromagnetic, that's the electromagnetic property of nature, that it creates magnetic field. Now if you ask the question, why, how did that property come about? Who gave that property? We may say as devotees, who gave that property? When you are having a scientific discussion, we should ask the question, what is the cause of that property of nature? Which means you are asking its cause. Who made it that way? And they may find another explanation. When electrons spin in a certain way and this and that, it produces that kind of they have an explanation already. Next we can ask the question, why does that property come about? And then goes on and on. Finally, the ultimate question is, why is the universe the way it is? And what is the cause? What caused this universe to be the way it is? So these are actually the very deep questions. And scientists can be just doing that and be completely bewildered. That's why it is called Durvibhavyam, very difficult to understand. So, another point that Prabhupada makes, very interesting in the beginning of the purport, we talk about Maya. What is the effect of Maya? Prabhupada writes very nicely, the spell of Maya covers the knowledge of the living entity, and that spell is insurmountable. It creates a spell, and because of the spell, what happens? It covers the true knowledge of the living entity. What we are, what is our position in this world, that gets covered up. That is the influence of Maya. And to overcome that influence, it is very difficult, and that is why it is said that it is durvibhavyam. Another interesting point that Prabhupada has made in the purport is about Brahman realization. How the impersonalists think that we are that Brahman, and that Brahman is all pervading, and that Brahman realization is the final state. And in that final state, there is no activity. Nirvikalpa, nirvishesha. But here, Prabhupada is pointing out that Swarupena avatishthate, Swarupena, to be situated in Swarupa, is not just at the stage of impersonal Brahman realization, but to understand that I am part and parcel of the Brahman, Parabrahman. And in that state also, there is activity. So there is a lot of this kind of a misunderstanding by the impersonalists. I was reading one article which was talking about today in the philosophers and scholars of religion, when they study different religions in the world, they are very perplexed. Because the religions are, one of the features of most of the religions is that they have an exclusivity claim. Exclusivity claim means the religions say that you can understand God only through our religion. Like Jesus said, you can reach the Father in the kingdom of God only through me. I am the way, I am the life, I am the truth. And you can go to the Father only through me. So this is an exclusivity claim. So most religions in the world have this kind of a claim. So because of that, people who follow those religions, they become hostile to other religions. They say that they have got wrong ideas. They are going to hell. They're going to hell. They're going to burn, eternally going to be damned. So we have to save them. And so they go to convert people, and all those kind of things happen. So this kind of, and as civilization progressed and people started studying comparative religions, in the 1960s an idea came that this is not good, but it's a fact that there are multiple religions. You cannot help it. That's a reality. And all these religions have these exclusivity claims, and we all have to exist together. So in the 1960s in the world, an idea came up that we have to be tolerant to religions. Meaning that my religion says that, and I strongly believe that, and your religion says something else, but okay, I will tolerate your religion. But actually, over a period of time, people realize that tolerance is not enough. Because when you say, I tolerate your religion, what I'm saying is that I know I am right and you're wrong, but I don't mind tolerating you. Say, for instance, if a husband tells the wife, or tells separately without the wife's knowledge, I tolerate my wife, and she hears that, oh, he will be in great trouble. Right? Or say, for instance, if a parent makes a statement about the teenage child without the child's knowledge, I have to tolerate my teenage child. And if the child hears that, will be very hurt. I know my father says he has to tolerate me. Better let me find my way and go away so that he doesn't have to go through this trouble. Or imagine a situation, there's an elderly parents in the house, and they hear their children talking. You know what to do? We have to tolerate our elderly parents. It's not very good, right? So people realize that this tolerance of a religion is not enough. And a lot of impersonalists from our country came up with this idea No, Hinduism offers a different kind of a paradigm. And Hinduism allows mutual respect. So that's the beauty of religion, Hinduism. A lot of Hindu scholars came up with this kind of an idea because they say, the Hindu scholars, so actually they're all impersonalists or influenced by impersonal ideas. So they say that Hinduism is a very open architecture, open-ended religion, which means that you can have multiple beliefs and all of them can coexist with mutual respect. And that's what Hinduism is about. So husband may be a devotee of Ganesha and the wife may be a devotee of Durga, and they can happily coexist. And so they don't have to, they can be very respectful to each other. Why that happens in Hinduism according to the impersonalists is because there is something divine, and that divine's manifestation, Ganesha is a manifestation of that divine, as much as Durga is a manifestation of the same divine. And so that one divinity manifests in myriad forms in the form of devatas, and you can have respect for, and that's how the Ishta Devata concept comes up, and you can have respect for each other. And so it doesn't matter. That's the kind of an idea that the impersonalists come up with. Is Hinduism truly open architecture? That means you can, actually that open architecture is a modern articulation of Yathomat Tatopat idea. Whatever you believe, that is the truth. So that's the kind of an idea. So is that really true? Actually, if you examine the verses of the Bhagavad Gita, it is not so. Arjuna is asking, Karpanya doshopaha tasva bhavaha pruchami tvam dharma samuda chetaha yat shreyaha nishchitam bruhitan me. This is Arjuna's question. Krishna, please tell me, nishchitam bruhitan me, tell me definitively what is the best for me, the best, the highest. That's what Arjuna is asking. Tvam ekam vada nischitya shreyoham apnuyam. Tell me ekam vada. Don't tell me 2 things, 3 things, all of them are saying, don't confuse me like that. Tell me nischitya. Very clearly. Even in the Bhagavatam, the question is, tatra tatranjas ayushman bhavata yad vinishchitam pumsam ekantatah shreyaha. Ekantatah shreyaha tannaha shamsitum arhasi. So this is the question sages asked in Naimisharanya. The question they asked was tatra tatranjas ayushman. They were referring to Sutta Goswami. May you live very long. Tatra tatranjas ayushman. You are very pure and may you live very long. Bhavata yad vinishchitam. Bhavataha yad vinishchitam. What have you ascertained? Vinishchitam means ascertained with deliberation, not sentimentally. What you have figured out, what after a lot of consideration, what have you found out? Bhavata yad vinishchitam pumsam ekantataha shreyaha. What is the highest conclusion that has to be learnt in what is the best for the human society? Pumsam ekantataha shreyaha means what is the best in the society, in the human society. So in the Vedic literatures, if you see carefully, there is one single proposition that is being presented. And what is that? So it is not that it is open architecture. So I was talking to somebody recently who was telling me all of these kind of things, that how there was religious hostility, moved to religious tolerance, and then Hinduism offers something even better. Tolerance is not enough. We have to have mutual respect. Then actually I was discussing with him, what is Srila Prabhupada's perspective? Actually, Srila Prabhupada's perspective, the Vaishnava perspective, is much superior. It is not even mere respect for each other. It is appreciation of other faiths also. So, it's not just mutual respect. I differ from you, and I don't disagree, I don't agree with you. What I'm saying is the right thing, but I will respect you. That is mutual respect. But what Vaishnavism, what Krishna consciousness, what Srila Prabhupada teaches is that there is difference, there is a reason why there is difference. But the goal of your religion, but the goal of my religion is the same, and that is love of God. All our religions are teaching us there is God and that we must love God. But our religions were taught in different cultures, in different geographies, in different socio-economic, cultural, climatic conditions. And so there are differences. But we all have the same goal, and that is love of God. This is a much more broader, much more accommodating, much higher understanding than just mutual respect. That was a beautiful thing. In fact, we see this, how Srila Prabhupada respected other religions very profoundly and very sincerely and very truthfully, very honestly. It was not just a sham. Once, Prabhupada went to Mexico, Mexico City, and he was there for a week, and there were many programs, and many people were becoming devotees there, and Prabhupada was very happy. He did many programs in different places. Once Prabhupada was after the program, he was in the house of a person, a family who had become devotees. So Prabhupada was accommodated in that room. So Prabhupada was put he was in the bedroom, finally, at the end of the day, of all the preaching and all the programs. So devotees gradually, one by one, they left. And in that room where Prabhupada was supposed to sleep, it was the house of a Christian. And there was a statue of Jesus on the cross, the crucifixion. That's the common one. So Prabhupada, after a while, the devotees left. After about 30 minutes, Prabhupada rang the bell, and Prabhupada's servant came into the room. And Prabhupada was sitting on the cot, and there were tears in his eyes. And Prabhupada said, just see Jesus, how he gave his life to preach the message of God. And these people have misunderstood that. They are sinning in his name and continuing to commit sins. And just see how much he suffered. And thinking about the suffering that Jesus went through, there were tears in Prabhupada's eyes. And then he said, to see Jesus in that state, it is too painful. Please take that statue out of this room. It's difficult for me to see that and sleep. And the devotees took the statue out, offered obeisance, took that cross out, and then closed the door, and Prabhupada slept. Just see the genuine appreciation of a prophet, a leader of another religion, and what he has done. So this is the kind of respect and appreciation that Srila Prabhupada had. Actually, when I heard about this pastime, soon after I heard about this pastime, I went to somebody's house, a family. And in that house, in their family, they had put up one picture. It was a collage. You know how in families they have 2-3 children or 1 or 2 children. And then it was a collage of their children at different ages. And all the pictures of the children, one birthday, they're cutting a cake and everyone is very happy. Another picture of a child got some award or some prize or something, holding a big cup and everyone smiling. And all the pictures were about children, their children and parents, smiling, happy. Then I was thinking, all these pictures are all about happy moments. I'm sure the children must have fallen sick sometime and had some, injury or something. And they didn't take those pictures and put that up in the collage, right? No one does that. Parents love their children and they want to see their children happy because their child is their object of love. And they want to see their object of love in the best moments, not crying. So usually you put pictures of happiness of your children, of anyone you love. In the same way, Srila Prabhupada had that sensitivity that Jesus is such a great person. What he did for humanity. And his portrayal must be not when he was suffering most. And it was very disturbing for Srila Prabhupada. That was the kind of a sensibility and the sensitivity that Prabhupada had. At the background of it is Prabhupada's immense appreciation and respect and appreciation for Jesus and what he did. So these are the real qualities of a Vaishnava, of how when you develop that understanding that there is the Supreme Lord, and the Supreme Lord and his messengers come to this world at different times. According to the Desha, Kala and Patra, you have to teach that knowledge of God and information about God in a way that that audience can understand. And one last point that is also important here. Swarupena avatishthathe. I want to read one interesting thing. Swarupena means to be situated in one's own position. The soul's ultimate constitutional position is that we are part and parcel of God. We are meant to serve God. We are meant to love God. And that position of loving God is the Swarupa. Swarupena avatishthathe refers to coming to that position of love of God. Now, what does that love of God mean? Because Prabhupada is clarifying here, Swarupena avatishthathe, to be situated in Brahman, does not mean you become inactive. And Prabhupada is quoting this verse that Mad Bhaktim Labhate Param Brahma Bhuta Prasannatma Na Shochati Na Kangshati Samas Sarveshu Bhuteshu Mad Bhaktim Labhate Param. Mad Param Bhaktim Labhate. One attains, Labhate means one obtains or one attains when Brahma Bhuta Prasannatma, when one has become Brahma Bhuta, when one has reached the stage of Brahman, then he attains bhakti. So then he attains Param Bhaktim Labhate. So attaining Brahma Bhuta is not a state of inactivity, it is a state of real activity begins when one has reached the Brahma Bhuta stage. That's what Prabhupada is pointing out. Recently on Monday, you all have heard this lecture also of Srila Prabhupada. How nicely Bhagavatam presents this. The verse is about Tataha Parikshit Dvijavarya Shikshaya Mahim Mahabhagavata Shashasaha. That's the verse in the Srimad Bhagavatam that Prabhupada was speaking on. This verse is from the first canto of the Bhagavatam. It says, Tataha Parikshit Dvijavarya Shikshaya. Parikshit Dvijavarya Shikshaya. He was being directed by the instructions or guidance of Dvijavarya, foremost of the Brahmanas, Dvijavarya Shikshaya, Mahim Mahabhagavataha, and this Parikshit was Mahabhagavataha, and he was Mahim Shashasaha. And what was he doing? He was ruling the world. Mahim Shashasaha. Although he was Mahabhagavata, he was ruling the world. In other words, Prabhupada was clarifying in that talk that Mahabhagavata does not mean he is only going to be chanting Hare Krishna. He will also be doing different activities, including the activities of a chief executive of a state. That is Mahabhagavata. I'll read that portion of the talk by Srila Prabhupada. Very, very special how Prabhupada points out these wonderful things. So Parikshit Maharaj was not an ordinary person. He was Mahabhagavata. Mahabhagavata Shasasaha. Ruled over a great devotee. It does not mean a great devotee is simply engaged in chanting Hare Krishna mantra. No. A great devotee may be the chief of the executive function of the state. He can become. That is required. Not that only Mahabhagavata required in church or temples. See, here again you see how Prabhupada is pointing out. Not that Mahabhagavata is required only in the temple or in a church. So Prabhupada is acknowledging that yes, there can be lover of God even in a church. But that does not mean he is only in the church and nowhere else. So that is required. Not that only Mahabhagavata required in church or temples. No, Mahabhagavata required also as the head of the chief executive function. That is also required. Otherwise, how will people be happy? Every field there must be Mahabhagavata. Just see. Mahabhagavata is not just in the temples, not just in some holy places, not just in the Himalayas. Mahabhagavata should be there in every field. In politics, there should be a Mahabhagavata. In science, among scientists, there should be a Mahabhagavata. Among writers, there should be a Mahabhagavata. Among lawyers and judges, there should be a Mahabhagavata. In every field. So my Guru Maharaj used to say that when we shall see that the High Court judges are devotees of Krishna, then our preaching will be somewhat forward. That's also he's not satisfied. Somewhat we have done something. If High Court judges become Mahabhagavata, they have become devotees. So that is the aim of Krishna consciousness movement. That everyone, at least those who are ruling, those who are on the executive function, they must be all Mahabhagavata. Under them everything should be ruled. Then people will be happy. That's the intention. Why is Prabhupada saying all this? Mahabhagavata should be in every field. Because then people will be happy. Because they will never do anything unjustly. Just like we are seeing everywhere, we are seeing in modern society. There are rulers and all kinds of things that are happening. That how much people are put to suffering. People are not figuring out which ideology will work. And all ideologies in some way or the other clash with each other. And people fight for these ideologies. And finally the common people are unhappy. That is, then people will be happy because they will never do anything unjustly. Their only desire is Mahabhagavata. Their only desire is how to give relief to the suffering humanity. That is Mahabhagavata. So Parikshit Maharaj was Mahabhagavata and therefore he was entrusted to rule over not an ordinary man. An ordinary man must not become the ruler. Only a Mahabhagavata can become a ruler. And a Mahabhagavata is not just he is confined only to the temples. A Mahabhagavata should be there in every field of human activity. And that is the aim of the Krishna consciousness movement. Just see the perspective of Srila Prabhupada. Prabhupada is not presenting that just as Bhagavata is just a religious text. It is not just a religious text to be read and practiced in the temples. This text and this understanding should influence every facet of human life, every leader in this society, there are different leaders, kinds of leaders in the human society. Every one of them should be influenced with the principles of Bhagavatam, which is the principle of love of God. And that will bring out a good quality of such leaders, and they will always want to do good to the society. See the profound strategy that Prabhupada lays out to bring about happiness for everyone in the world. Srila Prabhupada ki, Grantaraj Srimad Bhagavatam ki jai.